I stood in the middle of my new living room, surrounded by cardboard boxes and bubble wrap, when my phone started vibrating like it was having a seizure. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I answered, expecting congratulations. Instead, her voice came through at a volume that could shatter glass. She was screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Dad grabbed the phone from her, his voice cold and sharp, demanding I come home immediately. In the background, I could hear my younger sister Amber sobbing dramatically. The problem? I had just closed on a beautiful 3-bedroom house in a great Seattle neighborhood using money I had saved for 6 years. My parents had expected me to buy a house for Amber instead. They were calling me selfish, cruel, and a family traitor. I tried explaining to Mom that this made no sense, but she hung up on me mid-sentence. My hand was still holding the phone when it rang again. Dad, this time. His voice carried that tone he used when I was 16 and came home past curfew. Except now I was 32 years old. You have a choice, Logan. Return that house, or you are no longer part of this family. I felt my chest tighten. Return the house? I worked 12-hour days for this. I lived in a tiny studio apartment with 2 roommates who left dishes in the sink for weeks. I drove a beat-up Honda Civic from 2009 with a passenger door that only opened from the outside. I brought lunch from home every single day while my coworkers ordered takeout. Every bonus, every tax refund, every dollar I could squeeze from my budget went into my savings account. Dad, I saved this money myself. Every single penny. This is my house. He cut me off. We are not discussing this over the phone. Get over here. Now. The line went dead. I stood there staring at my phone, surrounded by boxes labeled kitchen and bedroom and books. The afternoon sunlight came through the bare windows, hitting the hardwood floors I had admired during the walkthrough. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I needed to understand what was happening, so I drove to my parents' house in Tacoma. The 45-minute drive gave me time to think about how we got here. Amber had always been the golden child. When she dropped out of the University of Washington after 1 semester, Mom and Dad paid the full tuition anyway and called it a learning experience. When she enrolled at community college 2 years later and dropped out again after 3 months, they paid that tuition too. No consequences, no expectations. Amber had cycled through 7 jobs in 5 years. She quit the coffee shop because the manager was mean. She quit the retail job because standing hurt her feet. She quit the office job because the commute was too long. She quit the restaurant job because the customers were rude. Each time, Mom and Dad welcomed her back to their basement with open arms. Last year I found out they paid off $23,000 in credit card debt for her. $23,000. Amber had spent it on clothes, concerts, trips to California with friends, and dinners at expensive restaurants. When I asked Dad about it, he said Amber was going through a hard time and needed support. Meanwhile, I had been financially independent since I was 22. I paid for my own college through scholarships, loans, and working 30 hours a week at a tech support call center. I paid off those loans myself. I bought my first car myself. I never asked them for a dime because they made it clear early on that I was the strong one who did not need help. When I pulled up to their house, the porch light was on even though it was still daylight. I climbed the 3 steps to the front door and knocked. Dad opened it immediately, like he had been waiting right there. Inside, Mom sat in her usual armchair, her arms crossed tight across her chest. She would not look at me. Amber sprawled on the couch in yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt, her eyes red but her expression almost smug. She was 28 years old and had never lived anywhere except this house. I stood in the doorway to the living room, suddenly feeling like an intruder in a home where I grew up. Mom finally spoke, her voice shaking. We told Amber she could have the next house money that became available in the family. You knew that. I blinked. What house money? I saved my own money. Every single dollar came from my paycheck. Dad stepped closer, his face flushed. Family resources are family resources, Logan. You make good money at that tech job. Amber struggles. You should have thought about your sister before making such a selfish decision. My jaw literally dropped. Selfish? I worked my tail off for 6 years while Amber lived rent-free in your basement. Amber sat up straight, her voice suddenly strong despite the tears on her cheeks. I already picked out a house, Logan. I had the realtor holding it for me. I told all my friends I was moving out. Now I lost it because of you. Do you know how humiliating that is? I turned to her. You picked out a house with what money, Amber? You work 15 hours a week at a yoga studio. She rolled her eyes. Mom and Dad were going to help me. It was all arranged. Then you swooped in and took the money that was supposed to be mine. That money was never yours. It was mine. I earned it. Dad held up his hand. Enough. What's done is done. Now we need to figure out how to fix this situation and help your sister. I felt something shift in my chest. Anger I had been pushing down for years. I am not fixing anything. I bought a house with my own money. Amber is an adult. She can save up and buy her own house. Mom started crying, actual tears running down her face. I cannot believe you have become this person. Money has changed you. We raised you better than this. I wanted to scream. Instead, I took a breath and said quietly, I am going home. To my home. I turned to leave, but Dad grabbed my arm. Wait. There is something you should know. He pulled out his phone and showed me a text thread. My stomach dropped as I scrolled through messages to aunts, uncles, cousins, even my grandmother. Dad had sent a group message that morning. Logan has decided to prioritize his own material desires over family. He had an opportunity to help Amber get into a home, but chose to keep all resources for himself. We are heartbroken by his selfishness and greed. Please keep Amber in your thoughts during this difficult time. The message had been sent to 43 people. 43 family members now thought I had stolen money from my sister. My phone started buzzing in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw texts flooding in. Aunt Carol wrote, Very disappointed in you, Uncle Frank sent. Your sister needed that help, Cousin Jessica said. Wow, didn't know you were like that. My grandmother, who was 87 and barely knew how to use her phone, had left a voicemail. Her shaky voice said, Logan, sweetheart, I heard what happened. I am just so disappointed. I thought you were a good boy. I looked up at my parents. They had poisoned the entire family against me before I even had a chance to explain my side. This was planned. They knew exactly what they were doing. You sent this before even talking to me. Dad shrugged. We knew what you would say. You have made it clear that Amber means nothing to you. I left without another word. My hands shook so hard I could barely get the key in the ignition. I sat in my car in their driveway for 10 minutes, reading message after message from family members who had known me my entire life, all of them convinced I was a terrible person. When I finally drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror and saw the curtain move in the living room window. Someone was watching me leave. I had a feeling this was just the beginning. For 3 days, I tried to focus on unpacking and settling into my new house. I arranged furniture, hung pictures, and tried to feel the joy I had expected to feel. But my phone kept buzzing with messages from relatives I had not heard from in years, all of them weighing in on what a disappointment I had become. On Thursday morning, my boss Marcus called me into his office. Marcus was a good guy, mid-40s with 2 kids and a calm demeanor that made him popular with the team. But when I sat down across from his desk, he looked uncomfortable. Logan, I need to talk to you about something sensitive. My stomach clenched. What's up? I received a phone call yesterday afternoon from someone claiming to be your father. He said some concerning things about your character and suggested we should watch our finances carefully around you. He implied you might be stealing. The room tilted. My father called my workplace to sabotage my career. Marcus held up his hand. I want you to know, I do not believe any of it. I have worked with you for 4 years. You are one of the most honest people I know. But HR requires me to document any calls like this. You will need to write a formal statement explaining your side. I spent my lunch break writing a humiliating 3-page statement about my family drama, explaining that my father was retaliating because I bought a house instead of giving money to my sister. I had to submit it to HR, where it would sit in my permanent employee file. That evening, I tried to decompress by organizing my kitchen. I was putting plates in the cabinet when my phone buzzed with a screenshot from my high school friend Brian. It was a post from a local community group on social media. the kind where neighbors share recommendations and complain about potholes. My mother had written a long post. She did not use my name, but anyone who knew our family would know exactly who she meant. My husband and I are heartbroken. We raised our children to value family above all else. We sacrificed so much to give them good lives. Now one of them has decided money is more important than helping a sibling in need. We watched him become someone we don't recognize. He has cut us off simply because we asked him to think of others before himself. If you have adult children, hold them close and hope they don't forget where they came from. The post had 342 reactions and 96 comments. Most of them were supportive of my mother. So sorry you are going through this. Kids today are so entitled. Praying for your family. You deserve better. A few people had pushed back. There might be more to this story. But those comments were buried under the pile of support for my parents. My best friend from college, Tyler, called me that night. Dude, what is going on? Your mom friend requested my wife Sarah on social media and sent her a huge message about how you've changed and become obsessed with money. Sarah showed me the message. It was like 5 paragraphs. I explained everything to Tyler. He listened without interrupting, then let out a low whistle. Man, that is twisted. Your parents are straight up lying about you. I know, but I don't know what to do about it. You need to tell your side. I tried. I wrote a calm, factual post on my own social media, explaining that I had saved my own money, bought my own house, and my family was upset because they expected me to buy a house for my sister instead. I did not attack anyone. I just stated facts. I am 32. I worked hard and saved. This is my house. My family believes I should have given that money to my adult sister, who lives rent-free with our parents. I did not. That is the entire story. I hit post and felt a tiny bit of relief. At least now people would know the truth. 2 hours later, I got a notification that my post had been removed for violating community standards on harassment and personal attacks. I tried to appeal, but got an automated message that my account was temporarily suspended for continued violations. I logged into my account from my laptop and saw that the post was gone. But my mother's post was still up, still getting comments and reactions. I called the social media platform's helpline and spent 40 minutes on hold before getting disconnected. When I tried to post again from my suspended account, I got a message saying I could not post for 72 hours. Meanwhile, Amber shared Mom's post with her own caption. Some people only care about themselves. Family means nothing anymore. So grateful for parents who actually understand loyalty. Her post got 213 likes. Comments poured in supporting her. You deserve better. Your brother sounds toxic. Good riddance to selfish people. I sat on my new couch in my new living room and felt completely powerless. They were destroying my reputation publicly, and I had no voice to defend myself. My phone buzzed. It was a text from my old landlord, Gary, who managed the studio apartment I had just moved out of. I was still in the 30-day overlap period, paying rent on both places until the end of the month. Logan, I got a weird call today from someone claiming to be you. Said you were breaking your lease early due to financial problems and would not be paying last month's rent. I know we had an agreement, but if you are having money trouble, we need to talk about this properly. Otherwise, I will have to keep your security deposit and pursue legal action for the unpaid rent. I called Gary immediately. That was not me. I never called you. Someone is impersonating me. Gary sighed. I figured something was off. The voice sounded weird, maybe like a woman trying to sound like a man, but I had to follow up. I will be there tomorrow with documentation showing I intend to honor the full lease. This is fraud. Gary agreed, but the damage was done. Someone, probably Amber or one of her friends, had tried to cost me $2,000 and create legal problems. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my mother's face when she said I had become someone she did not recognize. I saw Amber's smug expression on the couch. I saw the hundreds of comments from strangers who thought I was a terrible person. At 3 in the morning, I got up and made coffee. I sat at my kitchen table and started making a list of everything that had happened. The family meeting, the messages to relatives, the call to my workplace, the social media attacks, the impersonation to my landlord. The pattern was clear. This was not random anger. This was a coordinated campaign to punish me, and I had a terrible feeling it was only going to get worse. I met Gary at the old apartment on Friday, with my lease agreement, bank statements showing my scheduled rent payments, and a written timeline of the fraudulent phone call. Gary was a decent guy in his 50s who had rented to college kids for 20 years. He had seen everything. This is messed up, man. Family should not do this to each other. I know. The caller said she was you, but then slipped and said something like, I mean, he can't pay. It was definitely a woman. Young, maybe late 20s. That would be my sister, or one of her friends. Gary shook his head. I will make a note in my records that this was attempted fraud. Your deposit is safe. But you might want to file a police report. I added it to my growing list of things to do. Police report, lawyer consultation, documentation of every attack. My life had become a defensive strategy instead of a celebration of finally owning a home. That afternoon I came home from running errands to find Amber sitting on my front porch. She wore the same oversized sweatshirt from a few days ago, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. Her eyes were red and puffy. My new neighbors, an older couple named the Hendersons, were outside watering their garden. They glanced over with obvious curiosity. Amber saw them looking and raised her voice. Please, I just need to talk to my brother. I don't understand why he hates me so much. The performance was for the neighbors, and it worked. Mrs. Henderson frowned in my direction. I could either let Amber in and look like a reasonable person, or refuse and look like the cruel brother she was painting me to be. I unlocked the door and gestured for her to come inside. She walked past me slowly, dragging her feet like she was heading to an execution. Once the door closed behind us, the act dropped immediately. She looked around my living room with barely concealed envy. The furniture was not expensive, mostly stuff from a big box store. But it was mine and it was new. She ran her hand along the back of my couch. You really did it, didn't you? Got everything you wanted while I have nothing. I kept my distance, staying near the door. Amber, you are 28. You can save money and buy your own place. I will even help you make a budget if you want. She laughed. A sharp, bitter sound. You think I am like you? Not everyone is a boring robot who never has fun. Some of us actually live life. Living life is not the same as being irresponsible. She spun around. Oh, so now I am irresponsible? At least I have friends. At least people actually like me. You are just a workaholic nobody who hides behind a computer screen all day. The insult bounced off me. I had heard worse from online gamers with worse vocabulary. If that's how you feel, why are you here? Her expression shifted, the anger melting into something that looked almost vulnerable. She sat down on my couch without asking. Look, I came to ask for your help. For real this time. I stayed standing. I am listening. Mom and Dad are planning to take out a home equity loan on their house to help me buy a place. But the bank wants proof that I have stable income and some savings. I don't have that right now. So I need you to tell the bank you will co-sign my mortgage. Just say you will. You don't actually have to do it. I just need them to think you will, so they approve me. I stared at her. That is fraud, Amber. That is literally bank fraud. No, it's not. It's just telling them what they want to hear. Lying to a bank to get a loan you do not qualify for is the definition of fraud, and you don't have stable income. You will lose the house within 6 months and destroy your credit. She stood up fast. So you won't help me? Again, you would rather see me fail. I would rather see you succeed on your own merit. Get a full-time job. Save up a down payment. Buy a house you can actually afford. That is success. Her face transformed from pleading to something cold and calculating. She pulled out her phone and tapped the screen a few times, then turned it toward me. My blood turned to ice. On her screen were screenshots of text messages between me and someone named Sarah. The profile picture showed an attractive woman with dark hair. The messages were casual and friendly at first, talking about hiking and favorite restaurants. Then, they became inappropriate. The messages supposedly from me included graphic sexual propositions and crude comments about her body. I had never written those messages, but they looked real. My name, my profile picture, timestamps from 2 months ago. What is this? Amber's smile was cruel. Remember Sarah from that dating app you were on? You guys chatted for a while. I did remember. I had matched with someone named Sarah on a dating app in August. We exchanged maybe 10 messages total, polite conversation about hobbies. I decided she was not my type and politely said I did not think we were a match. She said no problem, and that was it. I never sent anything like this. Amber shrugged. That is not what these screenshots show. And I have more. Lots more. All showing what kind of creep you really are. You edited these. This is fake. Prove it. Her voice was triumphant. You think anyone will believe you over actual screenshots? I will send these to your boss, to your coworkers, to everyone on your professional network. I will post them publicly. Everyone will see what kind of person you really are. My hands clenched into fists. This is blackmail. This is consequences. You have 24 hours to call mom and dad and tell them you will co-sign my mortgage. If you do not, everyone you know will see these messages. Your career will be over. Your reputation will be destroyed. And unlike me, you actually care about that stuff. She walked to the door and paused with her hand on the knob. 24 hours, Logan. Think about it. The door slammed behind her. I stood frozen in my living room, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it. My own sister had just threatened to destroy my entire life with fabricated evidence, unless I committed fraud for her. I immediately took screenshots of her screenshots, noting the time and date of her visit. Then I called my friend Derek, who worked as a lawyer at a small firm downtown. He agreed to meet me that evening at a coffee shop. Derek reviewed everything on my laptop, his expression growing darker with each swipe. When he finished, he sat back and rubbed his eyes. Logan, this is bad. Even though these messages are fake, defending yourself will be expensive and messy. Your employer will have to investigate. It will be in your file forever. Professional contacts will see it, and some will believe it, no matter what you say. So what do I do? Derek hesitated. Honestly, it might be easier to just give in. Tell your parents you will co-sign. Then, when it comes time to actually sign, you can back out. Say you changed your mind. That is still fraud, and it kicks the problem down the road. I know. But sometimes you have to choose the less bad option. I left the coffee shop feeling trapped. If I refused Amber, she would release the fake messages and destroy my reputation. If I agreed, I would be complicit in bank fraud, and Amber would learn she could manipulate me forever. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. This house was supposed to be my dream come true. Instead, it had turned into a nightmare, where my own family was my enemy. My phone buzzed at 2 a.m. A text from an unknown number. Clock is ticking, big brother. I did not sleep at all that night. I spent the morning researching my options and making phone calls. I learned that in Washington state, I could legally record conversations with one-party consent, meaning I could record phone calls and in-person conversations as long as I was part of them. I downloaded a recording app and tested it 3 times to make sure it worked. I also started keeping a detailed written log of every interaction, every threat, every lie. If this went to court, I wanted documentation of everything. At 7 a.m, someone started pounding on my front door. I looked through the peephole and saw both my parents standing on my porch. I quickly started the recording app on my phone, slipped it into my shirt pocket with the microphone facing out, and opened the door. They pushed past me without asking. Mom's eyes were swollen from crying. Dad's face was set in hard lines. Mom was holding printed papers. We need to talk about your behavior, Mom said, her voice shaking. What behavior? She threw the papers at me. They scattered across my floor. I picked one up and felt my stomach drop. They were printouts of the fake messages Amber had created, the crude sexual messages that I never wrote. Amber showed us everything, Dad said. We saw the original messages on her phone. The dating app, the profile, everything. Stop lying. Those are fake. Amber edited them to blackmail me. Mom made a sound like a wounded animal. How can you say that about your own sister? She is devastated. She came to us crying, showing us how you have been harassing women online. What happened to you? I kept my voice calm, aware that my phone was recording every word. Those messages are fabricated. I have the original conversation with Sarah from the dating app. It was maybe 10 messages total, completely polite. Amber photoshopped those screenshots to manipulate you. Dad stepped closer. We saw them on her phone. Original messages, not screenshots. The actual dating app. Then she created a fake account or hacked into mine. I did not write those messages. Mom started crying harder. You are calling your sister a liar. Your own sister. After everything we have done for you, this is how you treat this family. I felt my control slipping. Everything you have done for me? You have not helped me since I was 18. You paid for Amber's college twice. You paid off her credit card debt. You let her live rent-free for a decade. You have given me nothing except criticism. Dad's voice went cold. Because you did not need help. You were always the strong one. Amber needed support, so I got punished for being responsible. No one punished you. We just had to prioritize the child who struggled. By enabling her to never grow up, Dad pulled out his phone. Enough. We have tried being reasonable. Now you have a choice. Option 1. You co-sign Amber's mortgage and give her $20,000 toward closing costs. Option 2. You sell this house and give Amber half the proceeds to make things fair. I almost laughed. Those options are insane. I am not doing either. Mom's tears stopped abruptly. Then we will share these messages with your employer and everyone you know. We will make sure people understand what kind of person you really are. That is blackmail. That is consequences. Dad crossed his arms. We will also contest our will. You will get nothing when we die. We will convince every single person in our extended family to cut you off, and we will file a police report claiming you have been financially abusing us. I froze. What? Dad smiled, but there was no warmth in it. We will tell the police that you tricked us into lending you money years ago and never paid it back. We have been keeping records. That never happened. You never lent me money. Prove it. This was beyond family drama. This was criminal conspiracy. They were threatening to file false police reports, commit fraud, and destroy my life, unless I gave them money. I need you both to leave my house right now. Fine. Mom picked up her purse. You have until Monday to make your decision. After that, we do what we have to do. They left. I immediately stopped the recording and saved 3 backup copies to different cloud services. Then I sat on my floor, surrounded by printouts of fake messages, and realized my parents had gone from disappointment to full-scale war. At work that Monday, Marcus called me into his office again. Logan, we have a problem. HR received an anonymous complaint about your behavior toward women. The complaint includes screenshots of inappropriate messages. I closed my eyes. They sent them. Marcus slid a folder across his desk. I need you to cooperate fully with the investigation. HR will interview you this week. I am on your side, but this is serious. You should probably get a lawyer. I already have one. That afternoon, I received an email with a court date. Amber had filed for a restraining order against me, claiming I had been threatening her. The petition included the fake dating app messages, claims that I had forced my way into her home, and statements from my parents supporting everything she said. If the restraining order was granted, it would show up on background checks. I would lose my security clearance at work, which I needed for my job. I would effectively be fired. I called Derek immediately. He reviewed the restraining order petition and swore under his breath. Your sister is not just being vindictive. She is trying to completely destroy your life. We need to fight this hard. I am referring you to Patricia Chen. She specializes in this kind of case. Wait, you said Chen. He paused. Yeah, Patricia Chen. She's the best family law attorney I know. Why? Nothing. Just thinking out loud. I met with Patricia that evening. She was in her 40s, sharp-eyed and no nonsense. She reviewed everything. The recordings, the screenshots, the timeline, all of it. You have a strong case, she said, but we need to move fast. The restraining order hearing is in 3 days. That night, I checked my bank account to transfer money for Patricia's retainer. My balance was $5,000 lower than it should have been. I looked at the transaction history and saw a wire transfer to A. Morrison, Amber Morrison, my sister. I called the bank fraud department, and spent 90 minutes on hold before reaching someone who could help. They opened an investigation but warned me it could take 30 to 60 days to recover the funds. Amber had not just threatened me. She had literally stolen from me. I sat in my house, surrounded by unpacked boxes, and realized that every time I solved one problem, 2 more appeared. This was the escalation Derek had warned me about. My family was not going to stop. They were going to keep attacking until I either gave in or lost everything. I thought about Amber's smug face, my parents' cold ultimatum, the fake messages, the restraining order, the stolen money, and I made a decision. I was done playing defense. The courthouse smelled like floor wax and stress. I arrived 30 minutes early wearing my best suit, carrying a folder thick with documentation. Patricia met me outside the courtroom, looking calm and professional. "Remember, let me do the talking. Only answer when the judge asks you directly." Amber arrived with my parents and a lawyer named Richard Brennan, who my father had hired for her. Amber wore a conservative dress and minimal makeup, playing the victim role perfectly. She kept her eyes down, clutching a tissue. My mother glared at me like I was a stranger. My father whispered something to Richard, who nodded and made notes. The courtroom was small, just the judge's bench, a few chairs, and terrible fluorescent lighting. Judge Martha Williams was in her 60s with silver hair and an expression that suggested she had heard every lie people could tell. The hearing began. Richard presented Amber's case. Logan Morrison had been increasingly unstable since purchasing his house, had made threats against his sister, had created fake online profiles to harass her, and had stolen money from family accounts. My parents testified, backing up every lie with straight faces. Mom's voice trembled as she spoke. "We are terrified for Amber's safety. Logan has always been jealous of her. Since he bought that house, he has become a different person. Angry, vengeful," Dad added. "He called Amber horrible names. He threatened to ruin her life. We have never seen him like this." I sat there listening to my parents commit perjury and felt something cold settle in my chest. These were the people who raised me, who taught me right from wrong, and they were lying under oath without hesitation. Patricia's cross-examination was surgical. She produced my phone records showing I was at work during the times Amber claimed I was threatening her at her home. She showed the original, unedited dating app messages with timestamps and metadata proving Amber's versions were photoshopped forgeries. She presented bank records showing I had never had access to any family accounts. Then she played the recording. The courtroom went silent as Amber's voice came through the speaker, clear and unmistakable. "You have 24 hours to call Mom and Dad and tell them you will co-sign my mortgage. If you don't, everyone you know will see these messages." Amber's face went white. My mother gasped. My father stared at the floor. Patricia let the recording play all the way through, including the part where Amber admitted the messages were edited and threatened to destroy me. Judge Williams leaned forward. "Miss Morrison, did you fabricate evidence to blackmail your brother?" Amber started crying. Real tears this time. I was desperate. I just wanted help buying a house. "He has so much, and I have nothing." "That does not answer my question. Did you create fake messages and threaten to release them unless your brother committed fraud for you?" Amber looked at her lawyer, but Richard said nothing. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. "Yes," Amber whispered. The judge's expression hardened. "I am denying this restraining order. Miss Morrison, filing false reports is a crime. You are very lucky your brother has not pressed charges." She looked at my parents. "As for you two, I suggest you reconsider your parenting approach. This court is adjourned." The gavel came down. Amber burst into tears. My mother stood up and shouted at the judge that this was unfair and biased. The bailiff had to step forward and restore order. Outside the courthouse, I expected to feel relief. Instead, I felt hollow. My father cornered me in the parking lot, his face purple with rage. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life. You think you won? This is just beginning." My mother stood next to him, her arms crossed. "We will never forgive you for this." Amber was screaming at Patricia, calling her names I will not repeat. Patricia ignored her, calmly putting files in her briefcase. I drove home and sat in my driveway for 20 minutes before going inside. I had won in court, but I had lost my family. Not that they were much of a family to begin with. That night around 10, my phone buzzed with a notification from my security camera. Someone was in my driveway. I pulled up the live feed and saw a figure in a dark hoodie spray painting my garage door. I called 911 and grabbed my phone to record from the window. By the time police arrived, the person was gone. But my garage door was covered in red spray paint. Thief and selfish, in letters 3 feet tall. My mailbox was knocked over. 2 windows on the side of my house were broken. The officers took a report and photos. Without video of the person's face or witnesses, there was little they could do. One officer, a woman in her 30s, looked at me with sympathy. Vandalism cases are hard to solve. Do you have any idea who might have done this? I have suspicions. Family dispute. She winced. Those are the worst. I am sorry. You can file for a restraining order if you feel threatened. I just fought one. I don't think I can handle filing one myself right now. Fair enough. We will patrol the area more frequently. They left. I stood in my driveway looking at the damage. Tomorrow, I would have to get estimates for window repair and garage door replacement. Tonight I had to figure out how to sleep, knowing my family was willing to destroy my property. The next morning I woke to discover someone had created a fake GoFundMe page in my name. The page claimed I was raising money for medical expenses after a serious accident. There was a stock photo of a car crash and a long story about recovery and bills. The page had raised $860 from sympathetic strangers. I spent 2 hours on the phone with GoFundMe's fraud department, getting the page taken down and making sure the donors got refunded. Another 2 hours reporting identity theft to the police and credit bureaus. At work, Marcus pulled me aside. The HR investigation is still ongoing. Upper management is nervous about the negative attention. I am sorry, Logan, but we are putting you on paid administrative leave pending resolution. It was not a suspension, but it felt like one. Paid leave meant I could not work on my projects, could not attend meetings, could not contribute to the team. I was being sidelined because my family was harassing my employer. That afternoon, a courier delivered a thick envelope. Inside was a lawsuit. Amber was suing me for emotional distress, defamation, and invasion of privacy. She was seeking $75,000 in damages. The suit claimed that by recording her in my house and playing it in court, I had violated her privacy rights. Patricia reviewed the lawsuit and shook her head. This is a nuisance suit. She will lose. But defending it will cost you $15,000 to $20,000 in legal fees and take 6 to 8 months. So even when I win, I lose. Welcome to family court. That evening, another envelope arrived by certified mail. This one was from my parents' lawyer, demanding I pay them $30,000 for loans they claimed they gave me over the years. The letter included forged promissory notes with my signature. The signatures looked close to mine, but I had never signed any documents borrowing money from my parents. This was forgery, on top of fraud, on top of harassment. I photographed everything, added it to my growing evidence file, and called Patricia again. They are trying to bleed me dry, I told her. Every time I defend against one attack, 3 more come. That is the strategy. Overwhelm you until you give up. The question is, are you going to? I looked around my house. My garage door was still spray painted. My windows were boarded up temporarily. My savings were draining. My family had turned into my enemy. Everything I worked for was being slowly destroyed. But this was my house. I earned it, and I was not giving it up. No, I said. I am not giving up. Good. Then we go on offense. I barely slept for the next 2 weeks. The stress was crushing me. I lost 15 pounds without trying. Dark circles appeared under my eyes that makeup could not hide. My doctor took my blood pressure during a checkup and frowned. 140/95. That is hypertension, Logan. You need to manage your stress, or you are looking at serious health problems. I am trying. Try harder. Your body cannot sustain this. At home, I sat surrounded by legal documents, police reports, and financial statements. My savings account, which had taken 6 years to build, was draining fast. Legal fees, window repair, garage door replacement, security system upgrade, therapy copays. My parents sent certified letters to everyone in my professional network. Former colleagues, college professors, people I had worked with at previous jobs. The letters claimed I had defrauded them and suggested people be careful trusting me. Most people ignored the letters or reached out to check if I was okay, but a few believed the lies. A former professor who had written me a recommendation for grad school sent a cold email saying he was disappointed and removing his recommendation from my file. A colleague from my first job out of college blocked me on all social media without explanation. Amber's social media campaign continued. She posted daily updates about her abusive brother, never using my name but including enough details that anyone could figure it out. She had cultivated a following of several hundred people who believed her narrative completely. One night, Tyler came over with pizza and beer. He found me sitting at my kitchen table, staring at a spreadsheet of legal expenses. "Dude, you look terrible. I feel terrible." He sat down across from me. "Talk to me. What's really going on in your head?" I set down my pen. I keep thinking maybe they are right. Maybe I was selfish. I knew Amber wanted a house. I knew it would cause problems. Maybe I should have just given her the money and avoided all this. Tyler's expression went from concerned to angry. "Stop that right now. You saved your money. You bought your house. You did nothing wrong. They are abusing you, but they are my family. Family doesn't mean blind loyalty. Real love requires honesty and boundaries. Your parents are not showing you love. They are punishing you for not being their ATM machine." I rubbed my eyes. What if I just sell the house? Move to a different city? Start over where no one knows them, and let them win? Let Amber learn that throwing tantrums and making threats gets her whatever she wants? You think she will stop with you? What happens when she has kids and teaches them the same manipulation? This pattern has to stop, Logan. And you are the only one who can stop it. I knew he was right. But knowing and feeling are different things. I felt crushed under the weight of constant attacks. Patricia called me the next day. "We need to go on offense. We have evidence of harassment, fraud, identity theft, blackmail, forgery, and vandalism. Your family has committed multiple crimes. It is time to press charges." I spent 3 days organizing everything. The recordings, screenshots, bank records, police reports, witness statements, and a comprehensive timeline. Every threat, every lie, every attack, all documented with dates, times, and evidence. I scheduled meetings with the police detective assigned to my vandalism case, the local FBI field office for wire fraud and identity theft, the state attorney general's office for the forged loan documents, and a new lawyer who specialized in aggressive civil litigation. His name was Richard Gould, a former prosecutor with a reputation for taking down fraudsters. He reviewed my evidence file and smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "This is one of the most documented cases of coordinated harassment I have ever seen. Your family made a huge mistake putting everything in writing. We can bury them with this. I don't want revenge. I just want them to stop. Then we make stopping more attractive than continuing. We hit them with everything at once. Criminal complaints, civil lawsuit, restraining orders. Make them realize this will cost them more than it costs you." I authorized him to file. Within a week, the offensive began. Criminal complaints with the police for wire fraud, identity theft, forgery, criminal threats, and filing false police reports. A comprehensive civil lawsuit against Amber and my parents for harassment, defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and conspiracy, seeking $200,000 in damages and immediate restraining orders against all 3 of them. Simultaneously, Richard sent my company's HR department a complete evidence package, including the recording of Amber admitting the messages were fake. He demanded I be immediately reinstated with back pay and a formal apology. The response was swift. Amber and my parents were served with the lawsuit and criminal complaints on the same day. I was not there to see their faces, but Richard told me their lawyer called within 2 hours. "Amber's civil suit against you was withdrawn this morning. Their lawyer reviewed your evidence and told them they are in serious legal trouble." 3 days later, my father called me. His voice lacked its usual commanding tone. We need to talk. Let's handle this as a family. We are past that. Everything goes through the lawyers now. Logan, please, we can work this out. I hung up. Richard and I, along with Patricia, met with Amber, my parents, and their lawyer in Richard's conference room. My parents looked smaller somehow, hunched in their chairs. My mother could not maintain eye contact. Amber looked terrified, finally understanding that criminal charges could mean jail time and a permanent record. Their lawyer, a tired-looking man in his 50s, made an offer. They would drop everything, make a public statement clearing my name, and leave me alone permanently if I dropped the criminal complaints and civil suit. Richard looked at me. It is your decision. I thought about Aunt Dorothy's words on the phone. Your mother has always been this way. Your grandmother enabled it. Now your mother is doing the same with Amber. It's a generational pattern. You have to break it, Logan. I spoke directly to my family. I will accept your offer with conditions. First, all three of you enter family therapy to address these patterns. Second, you make a full, detailed public statement on the same social media platforms where you defamed me, taking full responsibility and admitting you lied. Third, you repay all my legal fees, which are currently at $32,000. Fourth, you donate $10,000 to a charity for victims of family abuse in my name. And fifth, you have no contact with me for at least 2 years unless I initiate it. My mother opened her mouth to protest, but their lawyer cut her off. Those terms are more than fair given what you are facing. I strongly advise you to accept. After 2 hours of negotiation, they agreed. Everything would be in writing, legally binding, with severe penalties for violation. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched my parents and Amber post detailed public apologies on social media. The posts were humiliating for them but necessary. They admitted they had lied about me, coordinated to harm me, and manipulated family members into believing false narratives. My phone lit up with messages from relatives apologizing. My grandmother called, crying, saying she had been misled. Co-workers who had been cold to me suddenly became friendly again. HR fully reinstated me with back pay, a formal written apology, and a promotion to senior engineer with a 12% raise. Marcus personally apologized for not fighting harder during the investigation. The criminal investigations moved forward. Amber was charged with wire fraud and identity theft. She accepted a plea deal, 2 years probation, full restitution of the $5,000 she stole plus interest, 200 hours of community service, and mandatory counseling. She would have a criminal record, but she avoided jail time. My parents were not charged criminally, but they paid all my legal fees, the charity donation, and the stolen money with interest. The total came to $47,000. 4 months after everything settled, I sat on my back deck watching the sunset. The deck furniture had finally arrived, expensive teak pieces that would last 20 years. The yard was landscaped. The garage door was repainted. The windows were replaced with better, more secure ones. The house felt like home now. Tyler came over for a barbecue, bringing his wife Sarah and their toddler Emma. We grilled burgers and talked about normal things, work projects, upcoming vacations, whether the Seahawks had any chance this season. As we ate, Tyler raised his beer. To Logan, "You did it, man. You actually won." I touched my bottle to his but felt thoughtful. I didn't win. There are no winners in this. My family destroyed themselves. I just refused to go down with them. Sarah, who had been quiet most of the evening, spoke up. "You did more than refuse. You set boundaries. You demanded accountability. That is really hard to do with family." She was right. The experience had taught me painful lessons that I was still processing in therapy. I learned that family does not mean blind loyalty. Real love requires honesty and boundaries. My parents had enabled Amber's dysfunction for so long that they could not see how damaged the pattern had become. By refusing to participate, I forced them to confront consequences for the first time. I learned that documentation and truth are powerful. I won because I had evidence, not just my word against theirs. In a world where people can lie convincingly, proof matters. I learned that standing up for yourself is not selfish. It is necessary and healthy. I had spent years feeling guilty for succeeding while Amber struggled. But her struggles were self-inflicted. Helping her would have meant enabling her to continue avoiding responsibility. I learned that some battles have to be fought, even when surrendering would be easier. Walking away or giving in would have taught Amber that manipulation works. It would have taught my parents that they could control me through guilt and threats. The fight was hard, but necessary. Most importantly, I learned that the hardest thing about family is not dealing with people who hate you. It is dealing with people who say they love you but treat you terribly. Real love does not demand you destroy yourself for someone else's comfort. Real love does not punish success or independence. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is refuse to participate in dysfunction, even when it costs you everything. 6 months after everything settled, I received a letter. Actual handwriting on paper, my name and address in Amber's distinctive loopy script. I almost threw it away without opening it. But curiosity won. Inside was a single page. Logan, I know I have no right to contact you. I am breaking the no contact agreement by sending this, so you can add it to the list of rules I broke if you want. I am writing because my therapist suggested it might help me to acknowledge what I did, even if you never respond. I was wrong. About everything. I spent 28 years believing I deserved things, just for existing. Mom and Dad taught me that if I cried hard enough, or complained long enough, someone would fix my problems. They taught me that you were supposed to take care of me because you were the strong one. I never learned to take care of myself. And when you bought your house with money you saved, I saw it as you abandoning me, like you were supposed to stay stuck so I would not feel bad about being stuck. That is messed up. I see that now. I am working a full-time job now. 40 hours a week at an insurance office. It is boring and my feet hurt, and I don't love it. But I am paying my own rent in a studio apartment. I am building my own savings. I am learning what you already knew, that earning things yourself feels better than being given them. I am not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I am trying to become better. Not for you, for me. Your sister, Amber. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I would respond. Maybe not. But the fact that she wrote it meant something had shifted. My relationship with my parents remained severed. They had completed the required family therapy sessions, but I had no desire to reconnect. Some relationships are too damaged to repair, and that is okay. I focused on building my own life. My career thrived. I got promoted again, this time to lead engineer on a major project. I started dating someone I met through Tyler, a woman named Rachel, who worked as a veterinarian. She was kind, independent, and had no patience for manipulation or drama. We took things slow, but it felt right. My house became the gathering place for friends. Tyler and Sarah came over regularly. My coworkers started a weekly game night in my living room. I hosted Thanksgiving dinner for people who, like me, had complicated family situations. I filled the space with people who chose to be there, not people who felt entitled to be there. The difference was everything. One Saturday afternoon, I stood in my living room, looking at the space I had created. Sunlight came through the windows, hitting the hardwood floors. Framed photos covered the walls, me and Tyler at a Seahawks game, Rachel and me hiking in the Cascades, my team at work celebrating our successful project launch. Everything I had, I built myself. My career, my home, my chosen family. Nobody could take that away. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "Still on for dinner tonight?" I smiled and texted back, "Absolutely. Your place or mine?" "Mine. I am making lasagna. Bring wine." I grabbed my keys and looked around one more time before heading out. This house had cost me more than money. It had cost me my family of origin, months of stress, and thousands of dollars in legal fees. But standing there in the afternoon light, I knew it was worth it. Not because of the house itself, but because of what it represented. My refusal to be controlled, my commitment to living authentically, and my understanding that sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you are born into. I locked the door behind me and drove to the wine store, already thinking about which bottle would pair best with lasagna. Life was good. Not perfect, but good. and I had earned every moment of it. Now I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who felt entitled to your success or resources? How did you handle it? Was it worth the conflict? Or do you wish you had done things differently? Share your story in the comments. I read every one, and I would love to hear about your experiences. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these stories and realize they are not alone in dealing with difficult family dynamics. Subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories about overcoming challenges and standing up for yourself. And if you know someone who is struggling with family pressure or manipulation, share this video with them. Sometimes just knowing someone else has been through it and survived can make all the difference. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps you feel less alone if you are going through something similar. Remember, you have the right to build the life you want, even if your family does not understand or approve. Your success is not selfish, your boundaries are not cruel, and you deserve relationships based on mutual respect, not obligation or guilt. Take care of yourselves, set those boundaries, build that life you dream about, and never let anyone convince you that taking care of yourself is wrong. You have got this.